Hello, everybody, and today we're actually on for a real scheduled game, not at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So, the Skins actually have the 14th ranked total offense in the league, averaging 343 yards per game. They are the 11th passing offense in the league at 244.4 yards per game, and they are only the 21st rushing offense in the league that is tied with Green Bay at 98.6 yards per game. Now, their defense is a little bit more vaunted than we've seen in the past few weeks with the Minnesota Vikings, and that is their 18th in total defense at 336.9 yards allowed a game, 16th in both rushing and passing defense, giving up 226.4 yards through the air and 110.5 on the ground. Now, those are better numbers than what we've seen in the past few weeks that Minnesota has gone up against. But I'm gonna get into the injury report, and it's a little long on the skin side. You have a very good linebacker in Zach Brown. He's questionable with an ankle. Jamison Crowder, a receiver, he's their slot guy. He is questionable with a hamstring. Matt Ioannidis and Arthur Jones both out, and they're both defensive linemen. Sean Louisville, I hope I'm saying that right. He's a guard. He's questionable. I imagine he'll play. It's what the team called a stinger. So I think he'll probably go. Spencer Long, he's questionable with a knee. He's a center. Morgan Moses still is the right tackle. He's still questionable with the two ankles, but he's played last week, and I think the week prior to that he came back into the game. Then he got hurt as well, and so I expect him to actually go, although he is banged up. You have Monte Nicholson, who is a safety. He's questionable with a shoulder. Ty Nsekhe, their swing tackle, he's questionable with a core muscle injury. Niles Paul, a tight end, questionable with a concussion. I doubt he'll actually go. Jordan Reed's questionable with a hamstring, and so are Scherf and Williams, and I imagine Scherf and Williams probably won't go, and Jordan Reed is probably really up in the air, as he always is. And then coming over to our side, the Vikes are 11th in total offense at 358.5 yards per game. 14th in passing with Case Keenum. Not bad. 238.5 per game. And then you have, we're the 9th ranked rushing offense. Such a relief compared to last year when we were 32nd. And that's at 120 yards a game. Defense, this is their calling card, and we all know that. 4th in total defense, 282.1 yards allowed. 7th in passing at 200.8 and 81.4, which is good for 3rd in terms of rushing defense. And for the injury report, there were more injuries on these things, but I decided I would just say the ones that are out and questionable. And for us, the two guys that are out, Mike Remmers, Jeremiah Searles. That's it for out. Everson is questionable with a foot injury that he got during the Cleveland game in London. However, he is expected to play. Zimmer has said it multiple times. And then Anthony Harris is questionable with a hamstring. And going into more of a actual discussing of the game type of thing now. Rashad Hill versus Ryan Kerrigan. I'm a little interested to see how that goes over, just because we haven't seen a pass rush like this yet with him and Preston Brown. So it's interesting. I want to see how Rashad Hill actually holds up against Ryan Kerrigan in this, because that's where they actually usually just line him up on the right tackle anyway. So even though he did play okay against the Browns, but it was also the Browns, and this is an actual vaunted guy at this point. Like he's a very underrated pass rusher. I think he probably has been snubbed out of a few Pro Bowls or two. So, and then the Skins are just very badly hurt. Like I read the list, so it's not a pretty list, and so that leads me to some other things here, because on the list we saw two defensive linemen who are officially ruled out during this game, and we're getting Nick Easton back. So hopefully we can actually run the ball up the middle on this team. We don't need to test the edges with Ryan Kerrigan on Rashad Hill. We might be able to just line up and run it up the middle, because they do run a 3-4 there in Washington. So maybe we can just utilize Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon in that kind of way. Well, probably more Latavius Murray, as he's the guy I would prefer to see running in between the tackles, as opposed to McKinnon probably getting him more out in space on the screens, all that kind of stuff. And so I would like to see some more in between the tackles running in this game. Maybe some more power sets. Murray works with that better anyway. And once again, if we're just going back to this injury report, the defense should have some pretty decent success this week because Jamison Crowder, he's questionable with the hamstring. You have Sean Louisville, he's a guard. He's their starting guard. I think he's the starting left guard there in Washington. He's questionable with what they call a stinger. So I still imagine he'll probably play, but he's banged up to a degree. Spencer Long, center, banged up. Right tackle Morgan Moses, who's actually good when healthy, banged up. Their swing tackle Ty Nsekhe, banged up. Their all-pro franchise left tackle Trent Williams, banged up. Probably not even going to play. Brandon Scherf, once again, top 5 pick, promising guy. Probably, once again, another Pro Bowl kind of guy. He's a good player, banged up at the very least. So, I can't. And then not to mention Brian Quick, that's another receiver. So we're left with guarding pretty much Terrell Pryor and Josh Doxson with Chris Thompson coming out of the backfield. Now the most daunting of them is Chris Thompson to me, because who do you put Rhodes on? Doxson? Like, do you have him follow someone this game? Because honestly, I don't think you do unless someone becomes a problem. Like right now, I view the biggest problem probably because they're probably going to focus on Chris Thompson. So I imagine we're going to see a lot of Vernon Davis as a key guy here. So that one kind of worries me out of all of this. But the defense overall should have success. And then going over to the offensive side again here. Will Keenan hold up? Once again, this is the best defense he's played, regardless. So do you think he'll be able to actually go blow for blow? Which will be interesting because Teddy Bridgewater, he's sitting right there. He'll be warming up if he starts throwing 2 or 3 picks in the first half. So it's just a little interesting. I'll like to see if he falls under that pressure of having that guy just over his shoulder. And we can't let them get off to a fast start. That happened last year, and then there was just no recovering. We couldn't keep up with them at that point. So I really think we need to actually hold them down, and that's why I'm kind of hoping that these injuries will actually keep Minnesota in the game like early, just because this is a very fast start offense usually. What we saw last week in Seattle, I think, is pretty much virtue of 1, playing Seattle in Seattle, and 2, just the amount of injuries they have on the offensive line. I think the only one that we saw that was starting last week, like the day 1, like starters, was Morgan Moses. So, and this includes our old friend TJ Clemmings, which should be interesting, assuming that Everson is playing in this game. That's not going to end well. But I do think this game will end up being a lot closer than what these records say. Because I know Minnesota's 6-2, and I believe, I forget if the Skins are 3-4 or 4-4, but they're one of the two. But I think we aren't that proven as the Skins have actually played tough games thus far. So I do think this is a game we should win given the amount of injuries that they have. But I still think it's going to be closer. I'm saying 24-17, Minnesota takes it up in Washington, and then some real problems could be possibly starting with Los Angeles coming in next week. But do tell me what you think about all these things. Like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Brian_Spadafora. And I will see you guys next time.